The way I'm shooting, my recruiter is from big state. The way I'm balling, I should probably have a mixtape. Feds on production. Baby help me count it, plus her head on concussion. Know they hate to see it cause the gang so lit. Thick rope, made my son think he can swing on it. And I ain't gon' spit lest it come with a price. You bang on Mitch, better run for your life. Cause it's tragic, but it was cool while it lasted. Go stuff him with his partner, save up on the sliding off gaps and my brody on 10. Clearing out the crowd like they know we gon' win. Know the feeling ain't the same when we touch. I'm still tripping off a cane and a crutch.
Welcome to Old Man Sports Talk. I'm your host, Old Man Nate. The college football season has started and it's time for week 2 review. This week I will talk about the biggest games from this past weekend, and I will talk about a few big games coming up this weekend. I am also going to give my updated top 25. Let's go ahead and get started right now with Old Man Nate's top 25. We'll start with on the outside looking in. These are the 10 teams that are just on the outside of the top 25. We got North Carolina, Boston College, Arizona, Kansas State. Indiana has been pretty impressive this year. Boston College too. Boston College has a big game this weekend. We'll see how good they are. They go to Missouri. USC is not in my top 25, but they are on the verge. Northern Illinois with an upset win over Notre Dame is not in my top 25, but they're just on the outside looking in. And UNLV's right there, along with Washington State. Tulane is the only 1-1 team on the outside, and they have a really big game this weekend against or at Oklahoma. They should have beat Kansas State last week. They had a lead and just couldn't hold on to it. We'll see if they can upset the Sooners in Norman this weekend. Teams that dropped out of my top 25, number 18, Florida State. They're 0-2. They didn't play this last weekend, but they're 0-2. Number 19, Virginia Tech, 1-1. They lost to Vanderbilt, so they dropped out of my top 25. University of Texas San Antonio is 1-1, and they have not looked very good at all. I had them in my preseason show as a team to watch, but they just have not been looking good at all. And then NC State, who got throttled by Tennessee this past weekend, dropped out. They were ranked 23rd. So let's get started with the current top 25. By the way, the last top 25 ranking I gave was 2 weeks ago, right before week 1. So we're not doing them every week. When it gets closer to the college football playoff being released, then we'll start doing them every week. At 25, we have Wisconsin. Wisconsin with a big game this weekend, hosting Alabama. We'll see how good they are. 24 is Liberty. 23 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma was ranked 15th or right around there when I released my first preseason rankings, and I have dropped them. Even though they're 2-0, I've dropped them in 23 because they have not looked very good at all. At 22, we have Boise State. Boise State is 1-1, but they gave Oregon all they could handle last week. So Boise State still deserves to be ranked. 21 is Texas A&M. They lost week 1 hosting Notre Dame, but we'll see how good they are this week. They play Florida. At 20, we have Clemson. Clemson also lost week 1 to Georgia. We'll see how. I don't think they're on a game to watch this week, but anyways, Clemson's 1-1 at ranked 20. At number 19 is Louisville. Louisville's been pretty impressive so far this season. Let's see how far they can climb up the charts. At 18 is Nebraska. Nebraska whooped up on Colorado last weekend, and I was not surprised about that. Matt Rule has got them Huskers rolling. Look out for them in the Big Ten. Number 17 is Missouri, and Missouri is the only team in my top 25 that has not allowed a single point this season. They They host Boston College this week. We'll see if that continues. At 16 is Iowa. Iowa let one go last week. They jumped out on Iowa State early and ended up losing in the last few seconds of the game. At 15 is Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State looked really sluggish in the first half last weekend against Arkansas, but they did come back to win. Number 14 is TCU. At 13 is UCF, and those two play each other this weekend. That should be a good one. Number 12 is Iowa State. Iowa State, like I said, came from behind and beat Iowa last week. Number 11 is SMU. SMU, I had in my top 10 preseason, had to drop them. I have them playing in the ACC championship. They lost the past weekend, but it was not a conference game, so there still is a good chance they make the ACC championship. At 10 is Notre Dame. Notre Dame had the impressive week 1 win and then choked it away last week, losing at home to Northern Illinois. At 9 is Penn State. Penn State struggled last week also and hung on to survive. Number 8 is Alabama. Alabama had outside my top 10 preseason. They're moving up. At 7 is Oregon. Oregon was my preseason number 1 team. They have not looked very good at all this season. Between them and Oklahoma, those are the two teams I had ranked in the top 15 that have not looked good at all and have not looked like top 15 teams. That's why they both dropped. Oklahoma dropped out of the top 15, out of the top 20, and Oregon dropped to number 7. Ole Miss is at 6, looking very, very impressive also. They've only given up 3 points in their first 2 games, 3 points each in the first 2 games. Looking very impressive. Utah jumped out to a big lead last week and then just cruised. Didn't score at all in the second half. Going to have to stay more consistent in the Big 12, though. Number 5 is Miami. Miami's been very impressive so far, but we'll see how it goes. Hang on. Number 3 is Ohio State, another team that's been very impressive. Let's waiting to see how they do when they play somebody, though. Number 2 is Georgia, another team that has been very impressive. Can't wait. They already did beat a top 25 team in Clemson, but how good of a team is Clemson really? And number 1 is the Texas Longhorns. Texas had that big, impressive win over Michigan at Michigan last week. But like I told a lot of people when we talked about the game, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Michigan was not in my preseason top 25. As you can see right here, they're still not in my top 25. I don't think Michigan is a very good football team. But Texas did go in to the Big House, and they did win impressively. So they deserved my top 25 ranking. All right, so now we're going to talk about games from last week and talk about games to watch for this week. Games from last week I told y'all to watch was on Friday. We had BYU at SMU, and BYU upsets SMU in Dallas 18-15. SMU could not put it in the end zone and turn the ball over in the end zone at least one time in the red zone. So, SMU moved the ball on BYU, but just could not finish it. And BYU is not a very good football team, but they did what they had to do. When you hold a team kicking 5 field goals, no touchdowns, you don't have to be very good the whole game. You just got to make a couple big plays here and there, and that's what they did. So kudos to BYU. SMU's problem was their quarterback play. Like last week, they played Stone. This week, they played a different quarterback. I want to say his name was Roberts. And Roberts is the more athletic, but he's not a pocket passer. Throwing on the run, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, is a very difficult thing to do consistently. And so he made some errors doing that. So he's a very good athlete, He does got a nice arm, but his accuracy is not the best. So especially when you're throwing on the run. Be interested to see if they go back to Stone or stay with him this coming week, though. They got to find somebody, though, going into SEC or ACC play. On Saturday, we had number 3 Texas at number 10 Michigan. By the way, these rankings that I'm giving are not my rankings. I just showed you my rankings. These are the AP rankings, okay? So, again, Saturday, I told y'all last week you were going to see why Michigan was not in my top 25. And everyone learned last Saturday why Michigan was not my preseason top 25. Texas dominated that game, and they won it 31-12 with Michigan getting a late touchdown because it was 31-6 before they got a late touchdown. Arkansas at number 16, Oklahoma State. Arkansas controlled most of the game, but could not hang on in the fourth quarter. Game went to overtime where OSU won 39-31. Arkansas should have won that game. They deserved to win that game. Baylor at number 11, Utah. Utah jumped on Baylor early with a 17-0 lead after one quarter. After just one quarter, they're up 17-0. And they were up 23-3 at the half. But Utah was shut out in the second half, but still was able to win 23-12. Iowa State at Iowa, a really good football game. Iowa led early and was up 13-0 at half. But Iowa State rallies and kicks a 54-yard field goal with just 6 seconds left in the game to win 20-19. Number 19, Kansas at Illinois. A back-and-forth game had Kansas leading 17-13 after 3 quarters. But Illinois gets 10 points in the fourth quarter to win 23-17. Good win for Illinois. Number 14, Tennessee against number 24, North Carolina State in Charlotte, North Carolina. Technically, this was a neutral site game, but it was definitely in the North Carolina State's backyard. A slow first quarter for Tennessee, but once they got rolling, they rolled, scoring 13 points in the second, 17 in the third, and 14 in the fourth, while holding North Carolina State to just 10 points and winning 51-10. Boise State at number 7, Oregon. This was a back-and-forth game with neither team leading by more than 7 points throughout the game. Boise State led 34-27 with 10:15 to go in the game, but Oregon ran the kickoff back to tie it and then kicked a field goal with no time remaining as Oregon won 37-34. Mississippi State at Arizona State. This was a game that was dominated by Arizona State in the first half as they led 27-3 at half, but only scored 3 points in the second half. The Sun Devils held on during Mississippi State's late push and won 30-23. Games to watch this week. On Friday night, number 20 Arizona travels to number 14 Kansas State. Arizona first conference game in the Big 12, and let's see if Kansas State was overlooking Tulane last week. As Kansas State struggled against Tulane, was down most of the game, but did come back to beat Tulane at Tulane. Was they overlooking them and preparing for Arizona? We'll see this week. Number 4, Alabama at Wisconsin. This is the first true road non-conference game against a Power 5 school for Alabama in several years. We'll see how they do up there in Badger Country. Number 24, Boston College at number 9, Missouri. This will be a game of total opposites. Missouri will try to score fast, and Boston College will take their time. Missouri has not allowed their opponent to score yet this season, but I believe Boston College can make this a game. So I really do think this will be a good football game, but if Missouri jumps out by 14 or more points early, it could be very hard for Boston College to get back in the game. Number 9, Oregon at Oregon State. This bitter in-state rivalry could be the doom of Oregon this season. The Ducks have not looked good at all this season, and Oregon State would love to shatter their dreams this weekend. Texas A&M at Florida. Florida looked terrible against Miami. The Aggies were not very good late in the fourth against Notre Dame. Which one of these teams improved from their week 1 loss? We'll find out on Saturday. Number 15, Oklahoma against Tulane. Tulane almost pulled off the upset against Kansas State last week, but couldn't hold on. Oklahoma has yet to get their offense going this season. If the offense is not improved, then Tulane could finish the job this week. Number 1, Georgia at Kentucky. Georgia has looked very impressive this season. Kentucky lost to South Carolina last week. Will they be ready for the mighty Bulldogs this week? Was they overlooking Kentucky? They shouldn't have been because they've had trouble with Kentucky for years. But yeah, we'll find out if they're ready for the Bulldogs this week. UCF at TCU. Both teams are 2-0 and playing well. This should be a really good football game. Indiana at UCLA. Both teams are undefeated, but this is the best competition either team has played so far this season. This is also the first conference game in the Big Ten for UCLA. I think Indiana wins this game easily. Those are some of the games I'll be watching this weekend. Should be another great weekend of college football. I appreciate you all watching Old Man Sports Talk. If you haven't already, please take the time to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. That way you get notified every time Old Man Nate drops a video or goes live. Please leave a comment and let me know what you like about the video or what you don't like about the videos. I appreciate all feedback. Also, take a minute and share the video with your friends, especially those that like sports and college football. Thank you again for watching Old Man Sports Talk. We will be back next week where I will talk about the games from this week and give the games to watch next week. I will also give my new top 25. See you next week right here on Old Man Sports Talk.